And there we are. We're live.
Good evening and welcome, everyone. I'm Aeson Knight. Of course, we got Techy Joe, and we got Dr. Susan with us tonight to talk about her new book. Let's bring her up to the main picture here. There we go. So, tell us about you. There we go. It'll work. Mercury in retrograde is messing with me tonight, but it'll go. So, you have a new book. This is one of 19 books that you brought out?
Yes, I have 19 of my books have been published, yes.
Okay.
And I'm working on number 20 right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, my latest book's called Earth Energy Meditations. It's a guided meditation book. It includes guided meditations, affirmations, and mantras to help you to become more self-empowered, to become stronger, have greater inner integrity. And it's mainly geared towards people who are very sensitive. There's actually a pathology now that's called HSP, highly sensitive people. Mm-hmm. But before that, I called them energy sponge, an energy sponge or a psychic sponge. And what that is a person who absorbs energy as a sponge absorbs water. So they're very empathic. And as they go through their day, they feel like people are parasites or vampires that are just draining them of energy moment by moment. And by the end of the day, they're just so drained and so exhausted. All they can do is just lie down. They can't do anything. They're too exhausted. So it's really important for people like that, many of which are watching right now this show, I'm sure, because this is a psychic coffee shop and psychics are very, very empathic. They're very sensitive. Mm-hmm. So it's really important for anyone who has this kind of problem that they learn how to close off their aura to all but their own inner divinity or to the spiritual world, mm-hmm. and not get drained by people around them and also energies in the atmosphere around them, because these energy sponges are open to all of that and it just drains them.
It does. And, and it's not just psychics, but it's also empaths a lot of times. I say we get stuck in that loop of, well, we got to help you because we're empaths or psychics, and you get stuck addicted to that help, and it just keeps cycling. And by the end of the day, we're dried out, and it's like, done. Like, put a fork in me. I can't even concentrate.
Yeah.
Off to that I go.
Well, and it's a really important thing now. Like, I don't think any empath came out of 2020 going, well, I feel renewed and rejuvenated.
Exactly. That's for sure.
We're 12 days into the new year, and it's already like, is this year over yet? Like, I think we're
it's the continuation of 2020. It's actually
right.
worse.
And I keep hoping that, that the energy is running on the Chinese calendar, so in February we'll actually feel that renewal.
Oh, that sounds good, yeah. Or maybe the tropical zodiac, and by the springtime, maybe.
Yeah. We'll take any of the New Years. What do you see?
Actually, I can make a prediction about that, because I'm a Vedic astrologer, a Hindu astrologer. And with Hindu astrology, predictions are very, very accurate. So the reality is that as of April 5th, Saturn and Jupiter will no longer be in the same sign. I'm talking about Vedic astrology, not tropical. If you look it up in the tropical, that doesn't apply. But if you actually look at the Vedic astrology, which is based upon the actual placement of constellations in the sky, rather than an arbitrary pie cut of 12 things that have nothing to do with the constellations, because of the precession of the equinoxes. The Vedic astrology is based on the sidereal system, that's really where the constellations are. Right. So according to that system, Jupiter will be out of the sign of Capricorn, which we had this horrendous conjunction. Everyone thought it was so cosmic and all that, but Saturn and Jupiter are actually they hate each other. There's no way that was going to be a happy outcome. I actually tracked the virus, and the spikes in the virus corresponded precisely to Jupiter and Saturn being in the same sign. And the closer they got to each other, the worse it got. And then once Jupiter passed over Saturn, it started to ease up. It's starting to ease up now. There aren't quite as many deaths. There's not quite a horrendous triage happening in hospitals and all of that. And it will improve. And by, I would say, April 5th, because that's when Jupiter and Saturn won't be in the same sign anymore, it should be a significant improvement by that date.
Very cool. Very interesting. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah.
When we look at the earth chakra, the root chakra, a lot of Reiki teach that the root chakra is your base, your foundation. How does that play in with people right now?
It plays in that people are really scattered all over the place. And a lot of that has to do with just being so affected by what's going on around them, not only with this virus, but also with political agendas and all of this. The people are just all over the place, and they're not back in center. The root chakra being the basis and foundation, that's where your center is. That's where you feel stable. That's where your security is. That's where you feel at home. So the root chakra is about home. It's about stability. It's about being centered and balanced within yourself.
Mm-hmm. And what happens when people get it off kilter?
When people get off kilter, they're not even in their bodies anymore. they're not even, their auras are not even centered in their bodies. Their auras, flying off somewhere, and
right.
They're out of their minds.
They can be very out of their minds.
Absolutely. And a lot of that is going on. And, I think that there's a crisis in mental illness right now, really, because of what's been going on the planet.
Oh, I agree. I also feel like it's a lot of not understanding the energies that we walk through every day. I mean, there's always looking for what I call the quick fix to, everyday psychic upkeep or emotional upkeep going on, instead of looking at what the practices like you do in your book of, okay, this is where you work with this chakra, this is how it fixes out. So when we start looking at that, how does that affect everything together? We've got the virus going on. We've got in the U.S. political problems. We've got, people going from day to day just not having that root base because it's always changing. It's always shifting. What are you seeing? What are your prescriptions going on right now?
Mm-hmm. Well, the most vital skill that we need in this time of rapid change, and in a time when we can no longer depend upon the institutions that we used to depend upon, whether that be the medical institutions, whether that be religious institutions, whether that be our job, our being able to put food on the table. So the most vital skill we need right now is meditation and intuition. Both of those skills, really. But intuition is vastly important because of the fact that we can't make decisions based upon the old ways. We can only depend upon our own higher self to guide us. It used to be that we could depend on institutions, but we can't anymore. So we need to find the truth within ourselves, because that's the only way that we can make decisions that will keep us safe, that will keep us secure, that in which we will feel that inner stability. So that's why it's so important that we meditate, that we develop our intuition. And by the way, intuition is a teachable, learnable skill that anyone can do. And it's just like any skill that you want to learn, playing the piano, learning foreign language, whatever it is, you can learn it. And it requires simply learning how to do it and then practice.
Right.
And the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Right.
So,
And the more direct you become with it, it's like running. Anybody can run.
True.
Some that are like me, that is like, if I'm running, there better be a bear behind me, and you might want to come behind me.
Yeah.
And there are others. There is a friend of mine who runs 20 miles a week, and I'm like, you're crazy. No.
Yeah.
So, now this book, you also had one, and I fell in love with that, and that was, I just had it a minute ago. I'm gonna go back to your author page. Opening your third eye meditations. That was really
third eye meditations. Yeah.
Do you plan to take this one to Audible too?
This one is also on Audible.
It is. Okay, cool.
It is. This is there's the audiobook out. Yeah.
Right.
They had to redo the third eye meditations one because the reader didn't know how to lead a guided meditation. I had to teach the reader how to do that in order for her to be able to do it correctly, so that people could actually meditate from the Audible version.
Was it one of those messed up like voicings where it's like, and today we're going to talk about meditation, and really energetic, or
there was that also. It did sound like the normal kind of audio book where it sounded very commercial and very slick, and that doesn't work for this. But mainly they weren't pausing; they weren't doing the proper pauses that you need during the guided meditation. Where in the text it explicitly said that you have to, if you want to record this and play it back, you have to be mindful that there's these ellipses, and where every time you see 3 ellipses, you have to pause. And there's also places in brackets where it tells you to pause for a certain number of seconds. And the reader didn't do that. They just read through it. And when then they were doing things like, okay, now let's breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. They didn't even pause for people to be able to breathe in and out. It was awful. So they had to go.
I'm sure. I just wonder, did you get any feedback from people who got that Audible version, and they're like, I'm over here hyperventilating, and I'm just not feeling very grounded.
See, but I'm gonna give this to you, and it's because I actually got this one on Audible because it is meditations. Now, for our audience, you've got to remember, Aeson learned to meditate to Black Sabbath's Iron War Pigs. That high beat, fast beating music, because that's how Aeson's mind works. So I didn't think nothing was wrong with it. I thought it was wonderful.
No, I can.
How long ago was that? It may have been the second version.
Probably about 1.5 years ago.
Oh no, that would be the first version.
It was very much snap, snap, snap. Let's move on. Okay, next one.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's what it was.
Oh, see, I've run into those before. That is a big problem in the meditation community. Is some people just don't know how to read those, or don't know how to record them, or their personality's all wrong for it.
Exactly.
There's nothing I've hit those where you're sitting there and you're listening, and it's like there is nothing calm and relaxing about the voice.
About the voice, yeah.
I'm not feeling calmer.
Right. Well, the reason why they redid Third Eye Meditations is because there were complaints. They people left comments on Amazon customer reviews or wherever they leave comments, and so they redid it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Both of these are now.
It came out at the same time. The new version came out at the same time as Earth Energy Meditations. It just came out on January 1st.
What's the difference between the two other than the chakras?
Okay, so the Earth Energy Meditations is specifically geared towards divine protection and self-authority and knowing how to become more integrated and whole and grounded. It's about grounding, and experiencing earth energies, being rooted in your inner divinity, being rooted in your higher self. And third eye meditations is really just basically, let's do some guided meditations and let's have some spiritual experiences. Let's awaken the third eye. Let's develop our clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient abilities.
Mm-hmm. And to grow that, because the third eye is more of a tool, where for me, the root chakra is more of finding that charged energy.
Exactly. It's, yeah, thank you for saying that, because earth energy meditations, the main purpose of the book is to energize you, to make you feel more energy. And in fact, not only are there meditations, affirmations, and mantras, there's also physical exercises and breathing exercises in the book as well to help you become more energized. And all of the methods in the book, they work instantly. Just, you do them and you immediately feel energized.
Yeah. And you begin feeling more comfortable or more focused. For me, I feel more comfortable. I'm more focused. I'm more like, all right, let's go take care of this, and this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of your other ones, because you've got some interesting ones like Awakening Your Third Eye, and that's came out in 2 different ways, or?
Yeah, Awaken Your Third Eye has been out for a few years, and that one is really, it's all about the third eye. It's a fascinating book. It tells the history of third eye throughout the ages. It teaches you how to develop your third eye and awaken your third eye. It has scientific research in it about the third eye. It talks about DMT and the pineal gland, where the third eye is located. It talks about things like light pollution, things that really weaken us, and also even fluoridation of water. There's just a lot in that book about the third eye. It's really one of my best books, I think.
What's your favorite?
My favorite book? Oh my goodness. I don't know if I have a favorite. They're all my favorite. I have to say that people's favorite, the favorite of, if you look on reviews on Amazon, the favorite, that one that gets the most positive reviews, is Instant Healing. Instant Healing has 243 affirmations and prayers to help you transform instantly. So it's really so simple. It's like the do nothing program of the do nothing program. So it's just so easy to do and easy to get results so quickly. And so many people have come up to me. Even last week, somebody said that they use that all the time, and it's dog-eared because they're always referring to that book.
With a lot of Post-it notes in it.
Yeah, exactly. Underlined, highlighted, and so on. So that one. But really, I guess the one that's most near and dear to my heart is Awaken Your Divine Intuition, because that's the kernel of what I teach, is to help people to listen to that inner voice, to help people to develop their intuition so that they can be led by spirit in everyday life. That is really the main thrust of my teaching, is to help people to have that connection to spirit so that they can receive divine guidance and be led by spirit in their everyday life. It's sort of like the surrender to the divine presence.
And that's a little hard for people. I think that's why we don't see so much physical mediumship that's trance work, is that surrendering part.
Exactly. Yeah.
And letting that out. So you do more than just write. You lecture, you coach, you've got cruises. Tell us about these cruises, honey. It isn't Psychics on Sales.
Well, yeah, we do have psychics on the cruises. We have mediums. There's a lot of different themed cruises. What it is we go on a cruise and we have a meeting room on the cruise ship, and we do an entire conference at sea. So I've had all kinds of different themes on my cruises. We had, the most recent one was a UFO cruise, which was not that long ago. It was last October. was I'm sorry, year ago, last October, we're still in the pandemic.
Right.
No cruises were sailing. But a year ago, last October, was the UFO cruise. I've also had Ancient Mystery cruise. I've had a cruise into spirit. I've had shamanic themed cruises. Spirit of Alaska was that shamanic themed one. I've done several Maya cruises simply because many of the cruises sail down to Mexico. So I've done several Maya themed. I even did one on December 21st, 2012. When the Mayan calendar ended, we did a cruise at that moment during that time. And also recently we did a sail with spirit, which was with psychic mediums. So just different themes. It's fun, really fun.
Yeah.
So you can
They
find
seem
out more.
like they're a lot of fun. And you'll hopefully have them coming this year, but you definitely have 2020 coming. What are the ones you're working on putting together now?
So there is one going to Tahiti in July of 2021. Unfortunately, I had one going to the Greek Isles in October that the cruise line canceled it just today. But next year I have 2 of them scheduled. One is in September of 2022, which will be a sail with spirit with many of the famous intuitive authors and mediums like Lisa Williams and Denise Lynn and many others. And then also I've got a Hawaii cruise scheduled for October 22nd of 2022. And that one will be a Secret Mysteries Revealed is the title.
That thing has always been one for me that's interesting, is the Secret Mysteries Revealed. And there's been a few that have picked up that mantra and continue to explore it. You brought up the calendar, and of course, a lot of spiritual people were like, it's ending, we get 4 days of darkness, and then we move forward and the calendar starts its next cycle.
Well,
and
that wasn't something I predicted.
It wasn't something I predicted either, of this, the world's going to end. We've seen the same thing with the age of Aquarius. I'm like, no, it's not 1964. And
by the way, the Aquarian age is connected to the stars. It actually is real. We're in a Piscean age right now because of the precession of the equinoxes. And guess what? I checked in the ephemeris and I found out when we will actually be in the age of Aquarius, when there will be a precession by which we actually will have Aquarius on sunrise. And when we look on the eastern horizon at sunrise, when Aquarius will actually be there on March 21st. And that will be 428 years from now. So that's when the age of Aquarius is actually coming.
Thank you. Yeah. This is held back from last week's show when I lost my top on a lot of stuff. And I'm like, guys, some authors are just writing books to write books. They're not
making up stuff. They think it's the age of Aquarius because Jupiter conjuncted Saturn in the tropical zodiac sign Aquarius. That has nothing to do with the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is based upon the precession of the equinoxes.
Yeah, very much so. And it's like, no, this is just a new book. This is just a new book they need to sell within the next 30 days.
Right.
Or Lionsgate. This, since you're in astrology, the Lionsgate. We hear about this Lionsgate all the time, and I'm like,
I don't even know what that is. I haven't heard about that. I don't think. Lionsgate.
The Lionsgate are dimensional gates that are raising the vibration and altering the DNA of the human race on specific dates and times, and I'm like, no.
Okay. Yeah, spiritual people like to make stuff up sometimes. That's why spiritual Spiritual discernment is so important. And one of the sections of Earth Energy Meditations is about spiritual discernment. But I teach even more about spiritual discernment in 2 of my books, one called Awaken Your Divine Intuition, and the other one, Divine Revelation, which is my first book that was ever published. And that one goes into great depth about spiritual discernment. And,
and understanding practices and stuff. With your Awakening Spiritual Discernment book, go into a little bit of that, because I use that term. A lot of people use that term. What do you mean by spiritual discernment?
Okay, so I don't have a book named Awaken Your Spiritual Discernment, but in my book, Awaken Your Divine Intuition, there's a couple chapters about spiritual discernment. And what I mean by that is being able to discern what level of consciousness you are on and where you are getting your messages from. For example, where a psychic is getting their message from, on what plane of existence they're getting their message from. Is it from the mental world, the astral world, the environmental world, or is it from the spiritual world? So I recommend that people learn how to distinguish between the true voice of spirit and other voices in their mind, and how to test whether the message is the real thing. So I teach just really a 10-test method, so that you can tell the difference and be able to discern. And you have your little BS detector out, your little BS antenna out.
That ain't my telegraph that I'm used to feeling.
Well, and I think it's an important thing, not every voice that you hear in your head is a good one, and some of them require medication.
Very true.
We do kind of see some bit of that every once in a while that comes across, that even he runs into people that like they're going through a spiritual awakening, and it's like, no, I'm pretty sure that needs medicated. Like the voices you're hearing right now that are telling you to do this and do that and these things, and no, you don't seem to have any like continuity with them. So yeah, that is an important point for anyone, is if you feel like you're going through an awakening, make sure it's not something that needs, a doctor.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now,
and the reason why I know about all this stuff is because of my own experiences when I was a hippie and I was a flower child, and I had a psychotic breakdown as a result of taking LSD. And and I took the drug, and then it never came down from it. Weeks and months went by when I was having continual LSD flashbacks and hallucinating and just having a horrible kind of hell on earth experience, and being possessed by astral entities. I was possessed. So because I went through all of that myself and overcame that, I'm very, very aware of mental illness and of people getting possessed by entities and how to deal with that. So that's quite a bit of my teaching. In fact, I do include some of that in Earth Energy Meditations. I do talk about astral entities and how to heal them. That's part of the book as well.
Right. And that's important, because you say astral entities. There isn't no clove foot horn thing moving into your body. And that gets so overused. I'm so tired of, sitting down expecting to see a nice paranormal experience, and it's like it's a devil. And I'm like, it ain't a damn devil. There's no demon in this house or in you. Now, if we're talking about the root chakra, now this will steer my age for a little bit. How worried are you about people tapping into the Kundalini energy too soon?
Okay, so that's a really good question. And I wrote a book called The Big Book of Chakras and Chakra Healing. And in that book, I go into great detail about Kundalini and the awakening of Kundalini. And I teach many different techniques to help you to awaken it. And in fact, I even have some of those techniques in the book Earth Energy Meditations, where I teach the bandhas The bandhas are muscular locks. They are traditional yogic practices that are safe for people to use, and they will help you to gently awaken the Kundalini. Okay, so when I was a hippie way back in the ancient times, those of us who were flower children, we were seeking higher consciousness. And we wanted to experience nirvana. We wanted to experience these what we called altered states at the time. And we were supposed to turn on, tune in, and drop out, according to Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert, who became Ram Dass. So I was reading all these books. I read their book, which was The Psychedelic Experience. And I read the Buddhist scriptures. And I read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And I read works by Alan Watts. And in Alan Watts' book, he said that you have to find a meditation guide. Well, in 1966 in Berkeley, California, you didn't exactly go to the yellow pages and find meditation guide or anything remotely similar to that. So I went to a friend and said, well, how do I find this meditation guide? And he said, well, have you ever tried to meditate on your own? And I said, oh, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I lay down on my bed. That's how clueless I was. I didn't even know that you're supposed to sit up when you meditate. I lay on my bed and I sort of prayed for or asked for a meditation. And immediately I was propelled into this ecstatic state. And I could feel this cord or rush of energy rushing from the tips of my toes all the way to the top of my head. And I felt like I was plugged into this cosmic electric socket, but in a most ecstatic way. And I figured, well, I guess this is meditation. I didn't know any better. Right. Little did I know that I had not only my first meditation experience, but also Kundalini awakening all at the same time. Because that can be an indication of Kundalini awakening when you feel a energy surge going through your body from going up your body, because Kundalini energy goes up. And what is Kundalini anyway? I mean, we're talking about Kundalini. Maybe people don't even know what it is. So Kundalini means, Kundal means curled up energy. Sometimes it's called the mystic coil or the serpent power. It's a curled up energy at the base of your spine. It's just right below the root chakra, which is at your tailbone. Just below that, there's something called root bulb, and that's where the Kundalini is curled up and asleep. It's described as a serpent with his head down, asleep, coiled 3.5 times. And so that energy is a special kind of life force energy. Life force energy, in India they call it prana, in China they call it chi, in Japan they call it ki. So that is the life force energy that is keeping you alive, basically. It gives your body motion, it gives your body heat. But there's a specific kind of pranic energy called Kundalini, and it goes up through a specific pathway called Sushumna Nadi, which is in the middle of your spinal column. And it goes up through the body, but it's not physical, by the way. It's in your subtle body. It's not in your physical body. If you were to dissect a corpse, you would not find Kundalini or a Nadi or prana or any of that, because it's on a different dimension, but it's keeping you alive. So Kundalini, when it wakes up, you develop higher consciousness, you develop clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient abilities, and you attain higher states of awareness. So that's why Kundalini is sought after and people try to awaken it. Now, sometimes people have difficult experiences with Kundalini, mostly because they're ignorant. They don't know what it is. If they know what it is, then they wouldn't be afraid of it and they wouldn't have so many problems with it.
Right. And then some people, it gets forcibly awake, I understand. And it's like, no, you leave that alone until they're ready to waken it up.
Yes. No, well, you can do spiritual practices to awaken it as long as you use traditional practices like the bandhas, which are a safe way to work with that energy.
Right. Because we've talked about with other authors on it. I'm like, when I came through Reiki, they're like, you don't bother that. You leave that alone until it's ready to wake up, because otherwise it could be very life-altering to someone and life-changing. And I could see that. But also then I'm looking back at like Edgar Casey, who had the baseball that hit him in the back and had awoken his psychic abilities, and other psychics throughout history that's had this awakening that wasn't this shaman or master or energy worker sitting there going through it. And I'm like, this normally happens as part of human life. No matter, sometimes they're older people, they suddenly become all knowing, and it's like, when did you get so smart?
Right.
Well, that sounds like a quick shortcut. Grandma slips and falls in the shower, and suddenly she knows it all.
Well,
but
people do have instant experiences of awakening. It can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not very common, but yeah, it can happen.
It's not common, but it's very, I think, earthquaking for some people, especially when they're not looking at the spiritual realm of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about your coaching sessions? Tell us a little bit about who's your good client, how you work through those.
The only thing that I'm willing to do, a couple of things. I have a weekly prayer circle that's free that anybody can join and come to. I have that on Saturday mornings. So that's one thing that I do, just praying for people. But also, I do have private sessions if people want to take them, but I will only take people who want to learn how to listen to the divine voice. I don't do readings. I don't do psychic sessions or anything. I don't do anything like that, but I do help people if they wish, as long as they read one of the specific books that they're required to read one of the books beforehand, then they can come to what I call the breakthrough session. And the breakthrough session is basically where they get an inner contact with spirit with a capital S. They learn how to listen to that divine voice and learn how to receive the messages and say them audibly, the messages that they're receiving from spirit. And be able to get a signal, an inner signal that corresponds with that divine being that they're in touch with, and be able to use that in the future.
Very cool. Very interesting. So we're at 19 books, covering a lot of awakening, a lot of spiritual growth. What's number 20?
Okay, so I had written number 18 I think it was 18, yeah. Was a book called Maharishi and Me, Seeking Enlightenment with the Beatles Guru, which was my memoir, which is a fascinating book. And it's not only about my life, but it's also about the life of various celebrities who were with my guru.
Right.
I was in my guru's ashram for over 2 decades, and I was on his personal staff for 6 years. And he was the guru of the Beatles. He was very, very famous back in the 20th century, way back in the ancient days. He was extremely, extremely well known. But in any case, because I had written that book, I didn't really get to write as much as I wanted to about the Beatles in the book. There really wasn't that much space to write that much about the Beatles. So this new book that I'm writing right now is called How India Influenced the Beatles.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah.
And then by the influence of the Beatles, then you can subject the India influence the world.
That's right.
India the Beatles changed a lot of things in music and culture. I think it was they were the first band to come to the U.S. that just laid the U.S. down. That's the best way I can say it.
They were really the only pop group to ever have a #1 single in the United States. They were the first British band to make it in the United States. And boy, did they make it.
Well, they made it, but if you sit back and turn off the music, turn off the concert, and watch the people's reaction, you see an ecstatic experience there.
That's right.
So it'll be interesting when that book comes out to see just how that was woven into their music.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really their story is the story of all of us who came up in that era, because they were flower children like me, you know, and they went through the whole experimentation with the psychedelics like I did, and like so many of us did.
Right.
So, yeah.
Ooh, apparently we have a House of Gold in Moundsville that was built for the guru here in West Virginia.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're also getting some comments from our viewers. So
Yeah.
just to let you know where that came from, that was kind of
Yeah.
So yes, and then just to real quickly go back, the book we were talking about earlier that mentioned DMT, fluoride in the water, and the pineal gland. One of our viewers wanted to know real quick again, what was the title of that one?
Awaken Your Third Eye.
Awaken Your Third Eye, Ashley. That's the book you need to go find for your husband. And then water in the third eye, what is your opinion of the best water to drink or consume?
You know, it's difficult because bottled water comes in plastic containers. I personally only drink Fiji water. I wish it were in glass containers, but it's not. So yeah, natural spring water from an aquifer is the best water that you can drink, and Fiji water is that. I just wish it wasn't in plastic.
All right.
Understandable.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
We've been reducing our plastic. That's been a while. It was before it became fashionable.
It takes a while, though. That Tupperware thing really took over the universe.
Well, it did, but now this one to me looks fun for me. Color Your Chakras.
That's a fun book. That's an awesome book. I had written the book, The Big Book of Chakras and Chakra Healing, but my publisher wanted me to do a coloring book. It was the coloring books were all the rage at the time.
Right.
So I did this coloring book, and but it wasn't just a coloring book. It included information about the chakras. So on the left-hand page, you'd have the explanation of what you were seeing on the right-hand page. But you could color. Both pages had designs and mandalas and cool stuff so that you could color. So it came out. It's a beautiful book, and it came out really well. I love it. I think it's really cool, and people can enjoy the energies of the chakras simply by coloring. They can awaken their chakras by coloring.
And I think it would be a great creative space to let that, flow to kick in there and to really explore, because it's beautiful imaging. The image you're showing on the website here is gorgeous. Of course, it's drsusan.org you can go to. And apparently it's you can go to both DR and full spell out of Dr. Susan. She's got a great web presence. So what else are you doing, Susan?
Well, lately I've just had these book deadlines. I just finished the book Prosperity Meditations. I just delivered it to the publisher. That'll be coming out later this year, I believe. And that book is another guided meditation book, but it's focused precisely on prosperity and abundance. So Prosperity Meditations includes meditations, affirmations, mantras, and exercises, specific exercises to help with your ability to manifest things. That's what prosperity is about. Prosperity is about being able to fulfill your desires, to attain your goals. And so a lot of the information in the book is really geared towards people being able to fulfill their goals on every level, not only with money or career, but also with love, with health, with happiness, with even with the planetary concerns. So it's all about prosperity on every level. Nice. And some of the things that I teach in the book are, for example, using visualization, sometimes even using like vision boards or vision scrapbooks. And I I talk about how to create those and how to use those.
Mm-hmm. And I think you make a good point with that, because a lot of people get really stuck on the financial energy for prosperity.
Exactly.
There's so many different things there. How, you can be the richest man in the world and have the most worst health because you're so stressed and worried and having so much blockages here and problems there. So I'm glad that you're taking it in that direction of, no, it's real prosperity. Everything prosperous, everything growing, having more than enough of what you need, your friendships and different things.
Exactly. In fact, those things that you just mentioned, they're all included in that book. I've got a chapter on friendships and a chapter on love and a chapter on health and so many different ways that you can be prosperous.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned living in an ashram for 20 years. What was that like?
Well, it was quite an adventure. It was a combination heaven and hell. It was heavenly when the guru would place his amazing attention on me because he had this incredible love vibration. So everyone wanted to get close to him because he had this amazing vibration. And when you would be near him, you'd feel these waves of bliss and waves of joy coming in your direction. So it was like almost you were addicted to this incredible experience of bliss consciousness when you were in his immediate presence. So we would all be competing with each other to get into the room. Like, who can get in the room?
Right.
So we were all stepping all over each other with all this competition. It was crazy. And it was so intense. It was emotionally incredible roller coaster of heaven and hell. It's so intense. And sometimes he would just be, I call it open ego surgery. He would work on your ego because that's really what the spiritual masters do if they're worth their salt. What they're doing is they're killing your ego so that God can enter into you. So it's traditional. It's very traditional in India. In America, we would call it abuse, probably. But in India, this is what they do. That's just the natural course of things. It's the process. It's how they do it. Right. And how they do it is lifting up your ego and then squashing it down, lifting, squashing, lifting, squashing. It was very intense.
And very probably changing. How's been your adaptation from that?
Pardon me?
How has been your adaptation from that? Going from riding the roller coaster to adjusting to what I call outside life.
Yeah, well, it was hard at the time. It was really hard. When he called me to his room and he said, Susan, you're too dependent on me. I won't always be here. You have to leave. It was rough, I'll tell you. And leaving was very, very difficult. I was in Europe with him for those 6 years on his personal staff, and that's when he told me to leave. I didn't leave the ashram, though. I continued to stay in his various places in the United States and other places still, but it was just brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal adjustment to the hellish world of when I'd been living in this heavenly, very secluded, very nun and monk-like seclusion for so long, and then now I'm in the brutal world and I have to make a living, and it was just hard.
Right.
So it was kind of a combination. You've graduated. So
yeah, you graduated.
And now you go out of the nest. Like,
exactly.
Sink or swim, have fun with that.
Have fun with that, yeah. It was hard.
Will we get more of those stories later on through your books? Because I know you're talking about the Beatles and the influence he had on the Beatles. Will we get more of that information later on of your experiences there?
Actually, I wrote it all down in my book, Maharishi and Me, Seeking Enlightenment with the Beatles Guru. It's a memoir. It's called Maharishi and Me. It's available in hardback, and it's also available in audiobook. So cool. you can find that on Amazon or wherever you buy books.
Right.
Yeah, it's called Maharishi and Me.
Right. But what I was asking is, are you going to do a second one?
I really really wrote the whole experience that I had when I was with Maharishi. It's all in there. It's all very detailed. And it's got about 110 photos in it too.
Wow.
Very, very illustrated book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful book.
Yeah. One of our listeners asked, what is your perception of and I'm going to have to spell this word, Gayatri mantra?
The Gayatri mantra goes like this. Om Bhurbhuva Svaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Nha Prachodayat. It's a mantra for spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the specific purpose of spiritual development.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really it's an awakening of the solar aspect of your being. The sun. The sun is really in your solar plexus.
Right.
Awakening your energy, awakening your pranic energy, awakening your divine energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's often done early in the morning when the sun is rising.
Mm-hmm. They were asking, what's your view on it for growth and enlightenment?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love mantras. I use the Gayatri mantra myself. I also use Trambakam mantra, several other mantras that I like to chant.
Okay. Very cool. And you've done the third eye. We've done the root chakra. Are you going to work your way through the other 5?
Well, that would really depend on if my publisher asked me to.
Okay.
I don't know if they will, because they didn't do it. The most recent guided meditation book, which is Prosperity Meditations, is not focused on a specific chakra. It's just prosperity meditation. So I don't know if they're going to continue to have me do like a heart chakra or another guided meditation book on another aspect of the chakras.
Well, I hope they do, because your books are very good. There's a lot of information in them that's bite-sized. Because I'm one, now granted, I can sit there and go through the most occultic textbook, and it's like, okay, let's work out these, sacred geometry and take it down. Your books, however, it isn't like, okay, you read a chapter and then you have to go and like write 40 pages to come back to understand to reread the chapter, which I like. I like simple, great. If someone's just now jumping into you as a reader, what's the book you recommend for them to go to? Like,
depends on what you want to learn, really. Pardon me?
Total Spiritual Newbie.
Total Spiritual Newbie. It really depends on what they want to learn about. If they want to learn, if they want to get instant results, then I recommend Instant Healing.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to want transformation, quick transformation, and really feel better fast, feel better right now, Instant Healing is really great. And like I said, people praise that book more than the other books. I think I love it too. But if you really want to get serious about developing your spiritual gifts, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, then I would recommend Awaken Your Divine Intuition.
Okay. What's the hardest book that you hear back from your followers to get through?
No one's ever mentioned that it was hard to get through any of my books. I think they're pretty reader friendly.
Yeah, you are very reader friendly, but I always like to ask, which one's the hard one to get through? Like your A students are really the ones that hunt this down and read it.
I don't know. There isn't one that's hard to get through, but I think there's one that maybe has more philosophical. Well, there's a couple that have quite a bit of philosophical depths to them. Mm-hmm. One is called Divine Revelation, which is my first book. Mm-hmm. And another one would be Miracle Prayer.
Okay. What's the Miracle Prayer about? Because we've talked about Divine Revelation.
Mm-hmm. So Miracle Prayer is the book that teaches the method of prayer that's taught in like Unity Church of Christianity and religious science. It's called affirmative prayer. It's a specific method of prayer that I use all the time. It's included in Earth Energy Meditations. Many of the affirmations that are in Earth Energy Meditations have that structure that's taught in my book, Miracle Prayer. It's a way of praying that actually gets results. It's really, really powerful.
Very cool.
And the reason I said it's most philosophical is that the first half of the book is not the how-to section. The first half is about how we manifest things in our life, how we are in charge of our own destiny, and how we create our own reality through every thought, every word, every deed. And it goes into tremendous detail about that, about personal responsibility, and about how you're not a victim, you're a volunteer, and about how you've created this reality that you're living in. So that might be hard for some people to swallow. I would say that might fit under your criteria of a hard book to get through.
I think it would fit under that because that spoon's big for people. Like
It is.
You know, our fandom listeners know I'm one of those that there isn't a victim. We can stop the victim mentality.
Exactly.
You know, and stop the blame game and figure out what, you know, especially when relationships end and, you know, different things end that way, is figure out what your lesson is and then walk on to the next classroom.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely that sometimes is a very large spoon and a very hard spoon to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can be.
Very much can be. And then you have a book called Ascension.
Oh, yeah. That's a wonderful book. Ascension is so much fun. What it is a book about ascended masters. And it's stories of ascended masters, but not just the usual suspects like Saint Germain and Jesus and Babaji. It is really all ascended masters from all over the world and all different cultures, including America. So it's got all these tales. They're not tales. They're actual little history about all these amazing immortal beings, some of whom I've met personally. And also, it teaches you about how you can begin to develop physical immortality, how you can begin to transform your body into a light body. So it's, I love that book. It's a heavily illustrated book. It's got tons of pictures in it, tons of stories. I think reading it is so much fun. And also, it does have some techniques. It's got meditations and affirmations and different things you can do to help you to develop your own journey to ascension.
And this one interests me a lot because of the, you know, connecting with the masters and that type of thing. What has been your experience when you've gone to what I call that master level connection?
Well, that's where I live a lot of the time because I'm receiving inner guidance quite a bit from my inner teachers. And they are ascended beings. And so, you know, I'm very plugged into that level.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, darling. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You're participating in a lecture in February. Is that true? Right?
Well, I should be participating in the Conscious Life Expo. Whether I'll be there in person will depend upon, I mean, they're planning to do it in person, but it is Los Angeles, which is right now is in, you know, a pretty bad state at the moment.
Right. All right, darling. Well, check out her website. Get with her because she does online lectures. She's got a great Facebook page. She's got a lot of reading material for those out there that wants to learn it. And thank you so much. Come back when your next one comes out, the prosperity one, because we've been a good follower of yours for a while now.
I would love to do that, and thanks so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. You have a great day, darling.
You too.
All right, now let's get us back in balance. There we are. All right.
So fun.
I know, she's always fun. We've had her on, I think, during the blog talk days.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And I didn't know it until I saw the cover, and I'm like, I know where that book is. It's over there on the shelf. So hello, everyone.
So you run into that too, that moment where you start reading an author and you don't necessarily make the connection of, wait, I've read a bunch of their stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, I know this. Like, I know this, like, writing style. I know this, like, what? Wait, what else did you write?
Well, for me, it's always because it's an interview. It's like, I know your energy. Now, do I know you from Ascended Master Transmission? Do I know you from here? Where, you're from this area. Were you at this training? And then it's like, oh, no, I've read your other books when I go look at the website.
Yeah, it sounds like Ashley is going to be picking up a few books, and we do want to say hello to everyone, Brenda and Mary and Ashley, of course, and Tamika, great to see you. Yeah, I think that caught everyone. Oh, Kathy's here, and we have some new people, Mitch, it looks like, and Jeffrey, and yeah. And Solavi. I'm going to go out on a limb there. I don't know if that's just a screen name. And Shannon. Hello, Shannon.
Hello,
so, yeah. Hey, everyone. So, yeah. No, I've run into that before, though. I have weird moments with books sometimes, and I've run into a few that have created weird moments. Like, there have been books I picked up, and I start reading, and it's like, this author sounds like someone I'm friends with. And then you keep reading and you suddenly realize, like, they say something in the book. And this happened with one years ago, and I about, like, went through a ceiling. They said this thing in a book, and I'm like, oh my God, they're from Chapel Hill. Like, there's nowhere else in the world that has this thing. Sure enough, you go look, and it's like, right there, and it's like, this is why you're sounding like someone I know right now. Like, I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, reading the book by the author, and I'm feeling like this like real immersion in the book, and it's like, well, that's probably because I am.
That's fine unless you're writing a criminal drama, and then we have issues.
Well, but that could still happen. Yes, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But no, and it's like weird things that happen like that. Sometimes I just miss, like, the metadata on an author of, like, where they are, like their whole life thing. I just pick up a book because it interested me.
Right.
And then all of a sudden to have that moment while you're reading where it's like, wait, why does this feel like it's happening in my living room?
Right.
Like, why do all these things sound familiar? Why does this voice have, like, this, like, real familiarity, And then you hit that point in a book where it's like, oh, there is no way there are two of those in the universe.
Or three of those in the universe, yeah.
Yeah, really.
Well, for me, it's always their energy, because your writing is, Stephen King has this deep, comfortable, I want to get in there and have a debate with him.
I'm okay in so many ways.
You are. You're fun.
Oh, my goodness. But, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have those little moments, and they always make me so excited when I've had that with a couple of authors. Like David Sedaris got really, really popular, had no clue where he was from. Had read a couple of his books already, and then finally got to the one where he's talking about being from Raleigh, and I was living in Raleigh at the time, and I'm like, oh my God. I think it's Raleigh. Yes. Ooh, I gotta remember that.
No, Mary, I have worked very, very hard on this lovely, lovely energy, this lovely, what's the word, image of being the bitch psychic that'll tell you how it is. Now, y'all gotta stop ruining that.
He's not okay. He is not okay. He ain't right. No, he ain't right in the head. I gotta give you grief. course, I also got to live with you, so I'll do what I can.
Mika asked a great question. How do I make time to read? This is how I make time to read. Alexa, play blah, 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 blah. Alexa, cancel.
And it's very true. A lot of the material he takes in is not with like direct reading. Like he's not sitting there with the book and, like, nah, I'm going to take in knowledge. He's actually doing this like over top of, like, some people sit and leave the news on, some people leave the radio on, some people rock out to their music. He's sitting there with, like, earth energy meditations or, whatever has struck his fancy, or whatever has, revealed itself to be relevant and useful at the moment, or interesting. He just like finds it, downloads it, listens to it, finds it on YouTube, finds it on, any number of places. And if he can't do that, then, text to speech.
Oh, yeah. We've covered a few books through text to speech. Now, granted, I have the Uber Audible thing. Like, I get 8 credits a month for a reason. But no, I use Audible. I use text to speech on the computer. If I can get it in PDF version, oh, honey. Or Kindle.
Yeah.
Flip on that text to speech, and it's on and going. And that actually caused us to have an issue.
Oh my God. Well, let me first say, like, my least favorite when he's reading a book is text to speech, because I hate that text to speech like monotone thing where it's no inflection, or it's gotten better than it used to be. It's not as mechanical. Like, it kind of understands question marks and it kind of understands, exclamation marks, but it's still like fairly monotone. And I'm like, oh, please finish this book soon. But no, there's a lot of books. But you're right. There was the lovely introduction to he reads on tape. He also will do this to fall asleep to. And just like take in books while he's sleeping. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I didn't think it would be that big a deal. We've had to go through a few things in our relationship. Like, one, the fact that he needs noise to go to sleep. Okay, I'm typically a dark room, no light, TV off, no sound, kind of like, that's where I'm at. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so this originally started with I forget which show you were on at the time, but it was one of some kind of a murder mystery, may have been true or not, like a true crime series kind of thing.
First 48.
Yeah, First 48. And I'm sitting here going, can you just please quit? Like, find something else. I don't care what it is. Not that. Because I'm sitting here dreaming about murder all night long, and it's like, I don't think this is good for you. As in, you are going to suffer if I keep dreaming about murder while I'm in the same bed with you. Just as a life theory. So he's like, okay, that's cool. I also like books. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, books on tape. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. Thinking this will work. And so he introduced the Psychops series. He turns it on. 5 minutes in, it's all of a sudden, he is just out cold. Like, drooling, the whole 9 yards. I'm sitting here listening to the book. And he started at chapter 2. And then chapter 3 started, and chapter 4 started, and chapter 5 started. And we got up to chapter 6. And I said, that's it. I'm still thinking, he didn't fully explain. He needed music, sound to fall asleep. Once he's asleep, I can stop this. I can shut it down. I thought he needed it the whole way through. And so I'm just laying there going, I can't do this. I'm too into this book. I'm going to be up all night long. And I'm enjoying the book. That was the sad part. Like, I'm really enjoying the book, but I'm like, I have to sleep. Like, I can't right now. Like, I have to make good adult choices here. He wakes up the next morning, finds me on the couch, and is like, what the heck is this about? And I'm like, I couldn't take anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, was the book like that bad to you? And I'm like, no. I laid awake through like 5 chapters. I couldn't take any more. I had to go to bed. So I relocated out here just out of earshot.
And then you finished the book the next day.
Yes.
Yes.
I had to. Well, I was too far in at that point.
Well, that was the book, the story I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah. Then there's part 2 of this. So yeah, one of the times you were down, you had come down and blah blah blah. You're leaving. You're coming back up here, and you had like it was one of those like wake me up long enough to like I'm headed home. Sleep well. Blah blah blah. No. And out cold. He gets on the road. And he's not actually. No, you weren't headed home. You were headed to an event.
Yeah, I was headed up to
who knows?
Somewhere where I was going to be on the road for like
hours,
4 hours or so.
Yeah. So he gets on the road. I've fallen back asleep. I am like, I'm off. I'm dead to the world. And he's on the road. He's way up the road. And all of a sudden, I wake up and I think my sister is standing in the house somewhere yelling for me. And I'm trying to understand what's going on, like total, like, what? Like, what's going on? What's happening? What? Like, how did you get in? Like, you can never find the keys to the house. How did you get in? What kind of horrible emergency is this? Like, I'm totally disoriented. And so I'm going through the house trying to find a human that is in here. He has, while driving, started to play or tried to play an audiobook that he was last listening to there at the house. And what inadvertently happened, for reasons we still can't even explain, I don't think, it started playing on the Echo Dot in my office. So I had the voice of Ariana Huffington talking, of all topics, the sleep revolution, coming out of my office, where that unit was setting was on the opposite side of the wall of my head. So, of course, this sounded really loud, and apparently Ariana Huffington sounds like my sister. I don't know. It was a whole, like, I woke up, I finally figure out what's going on. I turn on the coffee pod, and then I just picked up my phone to scream at him. Like, don't ever do that again. I don't know how it happened. I don't even care.
Well, what I'm still trying to figure out is it was playing in the car, and it was playing in your office at the same time. Now, I find this totally amazing, but at the same time, just find it hilarious that Ariana Huffington sounds like your sister, one, and two, the book was about the sleep revolution, and it woke you up.
Yes. Like, there's layers of like things there to unpack. And the first one is, it sounded like my sister really concerned. Like, this is like how I expect my sister would show up at my house if she thought I may have died. You know what I mean? Like, or there's a possibility, like I slipped, fell in the shower, and like I could be near death.
Mm-hmm.
This is how or like she has to show up and like horrible things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
One. But two, yeah, the sleep revolution woke me up. Not in a woke sense, in a literal woke me up. And I'm like, I really don't think that was supposed to be how that worked.
I don't know. I hope she writes some more. She is one of those writer authors that did her book. Like, she read her book. I love her voice. I love listening to her, and I like her writing style. It's like Michelle Visage. Love that book. Diva Rules is the name of the book. It was mind-blowing. And I'm like, oh, so that's what I've been doing for 20 years. Got it. All right, so we have some questions. Let's go ahead and take those.
Absolutely. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure we don't miss any. It's just the two so far down here at the bottom, right?
Correct.
All right. So Ashley, 82696. Will my window get fixed tomorrow, and will I get some relief?
Let's take a look here. I think the window gets fixed tomorrow, but I think it opens up to a bigger problem. And you get some relief, but they have to fix multiple things because it's not just the window. The window is the minor part of the bigger issue they will find.
Okay. And then our next question comes from Mary. We're so glad to see you back. Because we missed you Friday. 11/28/57. Back to Connecticut for home sweet quick home with John.
Mary, where's Stanford? Is that Connecticut for you?
Should be.
Okay. Then, yeah. With a job. A little bit of stress, but I think it's good stress for you.
Oh, thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went a little wild and crazy.
You didn't go wild and crazy.
It's not that wild and crazy. But
okay.
Yeah. Like, I was sitting there running through my head real quick, and I'm like, business school, Stanford, yes. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's a Stanford, Wisconsin. I don't know. Like, there's a Paris, Iowa or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, and I went back to my Galaxy paint.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. All right, so let's take on the next one.
Oh, so Kathy says 7/28/62. Dan is fixing my car. Should be done this weekend. Will it run for a very long time?
I think it'll run very fine for a long time, but I think you got to get tires.
All right. Apparently you need tires.
Yep.
Watch the tires. Oh, but yeah. Aw. Thank you for saying we're wonderful.
Yep.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. And apparently Sarah would love your nails. Or mine. I'm not sure which. That could go either way. But apparently no one noticed yours. I'm sorry. Let's go.
I think they're used to me. Well, they should be used to me having my nails done. Now, granted, we've done them at home. Let me just be very clear about this. I have not gone to see my lovely Quinn Yen, who will take care of my nails and make them look pretty. We have not gone to the hairstylist. We're not doing anything like that until we have a shot and 4 weeks out. And then, honey, I am hitting, you can be prepared to drop me off at the salon for about a day because I need some upkeep.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my salon keeps saying in a couple of days we'll fix this situation.
Uh-huh. While we've been playing, I don't know what the deal is. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know what the deal is. But I've literally rotated my sleep cycle like a pinball machine.
And Brenda's in the same place. I show mine off, you're just like, they're there.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, no, I've got to give you grief because we always go through this. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, you want me to grow my hair out. You keep trying to convince me there is still something here and that if I just color it, it'll be more visible. And I'm like, no, it's dead.
Well, it wouldn't hurt me to dye it, and then if you don't like it, then we could just shave it and no one would know the difference.
Well, that's true.
Oh,
To me, Mika has a question. So 22082, will my computer connectivity issue with work get resolved tomorrow? And also, what is Terry thinking of our situation at this time?
let me take a look here.
Yeah. But no, we've been like very like, well, and that was kind of like, just sorry while we're, getting there. Going back to the sleep thing, that was always something we had said was going to happen.
Right.
I'm more of a day shifter. He's more of a night shifter. We meet for meals, at least once a day. But here recently, it's been really like, I swear to God, we ought to have a punch clock for the bedroom. Because that's about where it's at. It's like he punches out, I punch in, I punch out, he punches in. It's like almost like perfectly like the minute I get up, he's going down. The minute he gets up, I'm going down. And it's just like, okay.
But that's been our relationship. That's also how we get space. Because you can have all the morning time you want. Normally, nobody's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get all the late night time I want. Nobody's up.
Mm-hmm.
But here recently, it's like I've gone from night shift to early morning shift to evening shift to night shift. And it's like, will someone leave my freaking synchronizable clock alone?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like you're running a 36-hour day, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like because it just keeps, or not 36, maybe more like 30, I don't know, 32, 30 dead on. But it's like you're having this like long day that it's like to get everything done is more than 24 hours, and then it repeats. It's just very like offsides for you.
Right.
Like, yeah.
All right, let's take Tamika's question.
Okay, so she wanted to know, 22082, will my computer connectivity issue with work get resolved tomorrow? And also, what is Terry thinking of her situation at this time?
I feel it gets resolved. I feel like, however, they're going to find, and you're going to have to be as diplomatic as you can be about it as possible, that there is an error in the network that tells them that your computer is not your computer.
Oh, dear.
Yep.
So Brenda's all about me trying.
No, we've got to deal with Terry for a moment.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Terry is like, I'll take 2 slices of that and a couple of slices of pie, please, with your time. I feel like he's very interested in your situation.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So, yeah, Brenda's all about me trying it. With my hair. And Ashley was talking about her cousin dyeing her hair too, but not the middle of my head, just what frames her face. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get one that has a nice heavy conditioner to it, because once you dye your hair, you have to use conditioner. Otherwise, it will look awful.
Oh dear. Oh, and Ashley says, that's how my husband and I are. I don't know how we even find each other in between sleep.
Oh, we got a new baby right now. There is no time to find each other. Give it 6 months.
Leave messages on the crib. I'm figuring a bright pink Post-it will show up on a crib. I'm just there. Oh, Ashley concluded she didn't even have time to dye it.
Oh, well, that happens because dyeing's just stage 1. Then we have upkeep.
Yeah.
And maintenance.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could Sharpie the baby. I mean, like, it's COVID. Hey, it's COVID season. Who's going to notice?
You don't have to use Sharpie. They make washable markers that comes off.
I know, but what if like the baby drools and then like rubs their head in it and it's suddenly
You're not gonna leave it on their head. You leave it on their shoulder, their cute little belly. You're gonna have room to write, "I love you immensely. Will you please take out the trash?"
I know, but if the baby moves wrong or like some pee gets out of the diaper, it could inadvertently start looking like "I love you immensely. Get out." I mean, horrible things could happen here. That's why I'm going with Sharpie. Sharpie, lasts longer. Oh, the baby's back. There you go.
There you are.
Oh, awesome. So, yeah, and that's a lot of canvas. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming chunky, healthy baby, that's a lot of canvas. Like, that's like a sheet of paper. Like, that's a decent, yeah. Also works for Playboy bunnies in the back of blonde hair. Don't ask me how I know.
Ooh. Thank you for the idea, Mary. I think I know what to do with my Slurpucks of mascara now.
Oh, no. Are you going to color my hair with eyeliner?
Just to show you.
Draw it in like eyebrow. Are you going to draw it in like eyebrows?
I'm not going to draw it in. No, that's why I'm not using eyeliner. I'm using mascara.
Oh, okay. Great. I'm going to have spider vein in my bald spot.
I don't think you'll have spider vein in your bald spot. I don't think you go, oh my God, there is blonde hair there. Like,
hey, if it's clumpy, it's over. That's all I'm saying. Like, nope.
But no, we've been doing well. Not to blow up the world.
Oh yeah, mascara on the eyebrows is a key makeup hack.
Well, it is. It's been used. I use it all the time. And also gray hair for those that get gray hair. Mascara will quickly fix those roots very fast.
Yeah. Although, honey, I don't think anyone's ever missed your eyebrows. As in, like, never have you needed more fullness.
No, I do not need more fullness. No, I don't. I need
I'm sorry. I just have to be careful with that one. Is it's like, no.
Because point blank, I've been to the point a few times of just shaving them the hell off and going back to putting them on.
And, well, honestly, if you shave them off, I'm sure they'll be back tomorrow.
No, it takes about a week, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to give you your refund this.
That's okay. I think you should be required to wear mascara from now on because you look gorgeous with it.
Oh, okay. It's a rare treat. Like, you're still excited about, like, what was it, Halloween last year? Or no, wasn't Halloween. What was that?
I mean, a little bit more than that.
Last time I wore mascara.
That was like 2 months ago when I made you put it on because we were testing out mascaras.
Oh, no. I mean, I actually wore it.
Right.
Like, I did. There was an event. Haymond House pictures in front of the fireplace. Long Crazy Night. Was that Yule? Thank you. I don't know why. What? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a New Year's Eve Yule party. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, and it's Heyman House, so that's why I've got like it had to be Halloween.
Right.
Stuck in the head. But yeah.
Yeah. But no. So, this week is going to be fun. On Saturday, I am having the decoding the numerology class. That will be on Saturday. Patrons, you should have an email with a code for you to use for it. If you're interested in taking that class. I think next month I'm either going to teach candle magic or astrology. We haven't done candle magic in a while, so I may teach that one.
Yeah. Big note from Mary right there.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, some of the wedding photos, like that was the big thing with like her storage situation.
Mm-hmm.
Was like that's the thing she was like, "Hi, I just want that."
Right.
So we're so glad you got some of those photos. We will so look forward to seeing you with bangs.
She's always had bangs.
Well, apparently, I mean, 95 was a period for bangs. Can we talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, like, that could be, like, I remember some people I knew in the 90s that, like, their bangs were like a separate individual. Like, those were some bangs. Like the bangs started here and just, like, rolled forward.
Brenda, I'd have a calculator ready. Maybe some scratch paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we're going to be really going through and decoding and adding and subtracting and multiple. Well, no, there isn't multiplication anymore. It's mostly addition.
Yeah. Oh, December 31st of 95.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'd say there were some bangs. There's going to be bangs.
But no, that, all you need is a calculator. We'll have the manual out to you Friday night. Of course, every class has a manual. And then, of course, the video will be up for replay later. We're definitely working on building out the educational center. But no, I'm going to start doing classes virtually, and you guys can pop in and take them as you like. But again, patrons, your magazine is out. And of course, you've got some books. Recommendations there, a techie article, a lot of astrology stuff put out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I finally gave birth. What it is, it's birthing the newsletter. It really is. It's like that newsletter was almost a squatter.
No, I just took you there. Thank you, Brenda. It is a new method of education for me, but it also stops the geological problem of, well, I live in such and such. Okay, can you get a class of 12 together or 15 together and I can come up there to teach? Now I can literally teach everybody.
Or like that one class, you had someone that drove all the way like from DC.
Yeah.
Just because, well, one, and just like the value of the class, they were like, yeah, we can totally afford to drive from DC for what this, the class is costing compared to what we can get it for locally.
Mm-hmm.
But like they had to take off of work, get a hotel room, like they turned it into a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a little while back, not last year. Just to clarify, in case anyone's having a moment there.
Yep.
But no, that was like they're sitting here telling me this, and I'm just like, oh my god. So yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. Other things we're working on, or other things you want to talk about this. Now we're going to be talking. I'm going to be talking about this because this is a new issue, and it's for ages I've had my nails done. Now I'm more like, oh no, I'm going to keep my nails done and show a school how to grow the hell up. Okay. But we'll talk about that on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. We've had so much going on.
Well, we've had a lot going on, but the news has had a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. There has been a lot. Really, the biggest thing right now is like the Parler situation. If you were with us Friday, we were kind of calling for Parler to get shut down by. We thought Google would pull them from search rankings. And they did. Not the way we thought it would happen. Amazon shut their asses down because they're like, we're not hosting your website. And that's a really big deal. In terms of the parts of Amazon they were using are very hard to migrate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not something you just go, oh, I have a WordPress site and you host WordPress sites. I can move you from here to there. No. So yeah, Parler's down. Basically, there's very few web hosts that can easily take in Amazon sites like they were running. Realistically, at this point, if they find a web host, more than likely it is not going to be the same. More than likely, they will probably not even be able to support like an app, and it's going to just be kind of a shell. That's what everyone's calling for. In other news, a security researcher managed to pull in a just about 99% archive of everything on Parler, including January 6th and all the metadata for the photos and videos people were posting. Because, of course, Parler did not have really great security, and they weren't scrubbing their videos before they went up. So they were going up with like total geolocation data.
Right. And just as a reminder, listeners, the 20th, we will be staying home. We're going to be good Americans and watch it on YouTube or the news. We are going to be staying away from our capitals. We're going to be acting like adults.
Yes, but connected to that, and I know we're way over, we're starting to go way over.
We're fine.
Okay, but real quick, why don't you talk about the wonderful like batshit that is going through the rounds of the rumor mill regarding like power outages and you need to stock food and like, whoo, this stuff's getting hot.
Right. The FBI, since they received the files from Parler, not, here's your files. We're sorry, we weren't aware of what was being hosted on our site.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much they did issue a bulletin that, there was planned activity at every state capital, planned activity in Washington. And of course, every state has called the National Guard to handle security at the capitals, which it should be their responsibility to do. And, there are 1,500 plus troops in D.C.
Oh, I said that shit.
So there's a guy from Australia saying that we're going to have the world is coming to an end. No, I don't believe so. We are not going to have massive blackouts. Do I think it's a good idea to have 2 weeks of food in your house? Yes. But I think on a normal Tuesday, it's good to have 2 weeks of food in your house. Mm-hmm. We've experienced derecho. Yeah, I'm so tired of historical events. We've experienced a derecho. We have winter storms. This is West Virginia. You may get snow 6 feet high and can't get out your door January 20th. It's happened before. The year Clinton was inaugurated, I remember that. We had 6 foot of snow and couldn't open the front door because it had swollen shut. Now,
all of that said,
I think Joe Biden is trying to push for it to be public, to show that we aren't going to hide from you if you make us a threat. We will just respond to the threat. With that being said, I have very closely within the past 48 hours done a deep dive on Nancy Pelosi. And, because she is number 3. So if something were to happen, she would take the presidency. Believable that she would. And as her daughter said, she'll cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding. I think she's a very hardback, strong woman, a very good leader, very sound and fair mind, but she ain't playing games. So I expect to see a lot out of the House. Her cohort, the new cohort, it's not Mitch. Mitch will now be the minority leader.
Absolutely.
Well, she's not Ashley says she's crazy. I don't think she's crazy. I think she's old style, 50s lady, where it's like, oh, bless your heart, someone call the cops.
Well, there is that. Well, and I can understand concern for his safety, and I'm sure that he has that as well. I'm sure everyone like in the incoming administration has that. Very much a concern for safety.
Right.
But as we see with other world leaders, there's a certain amount of this kind of constant threat you do have to accept you're going to be living with.
Right.
How many attempts on the Queen of England's life in this many years of her reign? Like
attempts that she doesn't even give a rat's elbow about. It's like there's some guy scaling the wall. Will you please come fetch him?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what she said to the guards when the guy tried to invade Windsor Palace.
Yeah, and she's a badass. She's had a few decades to develop her badass at this point. But no, there's always that threat in a public power position is that someone's going to want to cut off your head. They're going to want to. You're always going to upset someone, even if they're absolutely just off their meds, deluded, crazy, hearing voices, being told to kill the president, whatever. Like, that's always going to be a threat. You could be the most beloved leader ever who does all these wonderful things. Someone's still not going to like it.
Yeah, but here's my thoughts, especially on the Queen. I think Nancy Pelosi also. Nancy kind of said something to the effect in the 60 Minutes speech, because apparently she has some CIA connection. I'd love to see what she done there. But the Queen, she's a deadly shot.
Well, there's that too.
She's at 98, and she went out to inspect the armory. Now, this is where the Queen fires stuff. She gets to blow stuff up. It's one of her royal perks. Mm-hmm. She is a deadly shot. She was trained during World War II by her mother how to shoot.
Here's me though. I just have to think that the Queen of England has to be like the worst person to be like security detail for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's a trained mechanic. She's a deadly shot. She does not rattle.
And she can drive. She can drive a tank, an ambulance, and her Land Rover. And she has actually gotten stopped by the police and requested to slow down because they can't give her a ticket. She is 98 years old, and she drives a Ford Land Rover like a boss.
Yes, because it's her preferred vehicle. But and has scared a crown prince or crown king or crown prince of Saudi Arabia.
Crown prince, he will not ride with her.
Yeah, it was bad enough. Came over and not used to women driving to begin with, and then you're getting chauffeured by the Queen.
Yes,
who is apparently a little wild and rambunctious when it comes to driving. But apparently not as bad as Prince Philip.
Prince Philip used to drive race cars. His preferred vehicle is still the BMW.
Well, but he doesn't drive anymore. He gave up his license after his last accident.
Right.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, though.
Right. And Ashley says that Nancy has had a really hard time recently, though. I feel like she's gotten media backlash with fighting so hard for the stimulus, then comparing when she waited so long, and then her house and now her office. She didn't wait. She was playing old politics and trying to make sure that the stimulus package could get through. And we've got Turtle McConnell sticking his head in the sand or in his shell.
Mm-hmm.
Behavior. So it wasn't, she was trying to get enough votes in both separations of the House because she introduced her original stimulus package had us getting $2,000 every 3 months that this went on.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch said no. See, that's been the major problem, and I think we're going to see a lot, like within the first 100 days, come out of the government, because the turtle won't be able to sit in his shell and go, well, that doesn't benefit my rich donors. Mm-hmm. So, but no, for her, this is kind of like, it's Tuesday. Apparently, some idiot doesn't think I've already installed cameras in my San Francisco home, and I'm sitting here watching him do this. Like, they released the call that she made to 911, and she's like, can someone come clean this up? Literally, it was like she was calling a maid service.
Yeah. Which, I mean, and can we just point out, like, she's, like, just a couple of months away from 81 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, she's, like, great-grandma. Like, can you imagine, like your own great-grandmother being, like, this chill with everything that has just happened? And I don't mean she's cool with it. I mean, like, she is just stone cold through this. Like, we got this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is not terrorized. She is not traumatized. She is just like, we're going to fix this shit now.
Well, and, you know, something else that came out and was just very short blurb was she wasn't going to leave the podium during the riots. Security had to force her to leave. She was going, no, bring it. We will deal with this now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Though something tells me Mike Pence was just like, get me the out of here.
Uh-huh.
Like, I do have to say on Mike Pence, though, I do love the meme images coming around, or that went around yesterday, of like when you have to go to work Monday, but your boss tried to kill you last week.
Well, and I think for Mike Pence, it was a lot more riskier because, you know, Mike Pence also had his wife, his daughter, and his brother there to witness this.
Well, as you do, like, your vice president, this is a big thing. Like, you want some, like, family there. Like, this is a big thing. And yeah. Oh, Ashley, it's great. It's been, like, wild. In terms of media social media posting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like some of the stuff that's come out recently, I'm just sitting there going, but true.
Right.
That's
because he stood up.
Well, Trump...
Read the question for our listeners.
Okay, sorry. So I don't get why the mob wanted Pence to begin with. That's because Trump dumped all of, like, the final ability to, like, fix this with the Electoral College on Pence. Pence didn't do what he wanted because, you know, can't. And so literally Trump pointed every one of those people in that group at Mike Pence for being a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was bad day to be Mike Pence. That's what it was.
Well, what I found interesting, and this is kind of the class of lady that I think Nancy Pelosi is, she had a mob hunting for her to kill her. Mm-hmm. She spoke about it for about a minute during the 60-minute interview.
Mm-hmm.
She went on for 5 minutes about the mob going after her young staffers and her kids, as she calls them, which at her age, she can call anybody a kid. And she was more upset that they broke her mirror in her office and destroyed her door.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and reasonably, there's a lot going on with that. Like, let's unpack that for just a second. Like, she accepts that part of, like, being in this position is people aren't going to like you and some people might want to kill you. Like, she's dealt with that. She's, you know, taken that on. She's accepted that. She moved on. What she's really, like, traumatized by is she has a staff. She has family. They didn't sign up for this. Not to that level. Like, they don't control what she does. They don't make policy. You know, you want to be angry with her, be angry with her. And then the whole realities of, you know, like, hi, you destroyed my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not so cool.
Yeah.
Not so cool with that.
Right.
But also you terrorize my staff. And like you're talking about my family. Like, no. Back up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of people. That was more upsetting to her, was the destruction of the historical value.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the glass they broke, the mirrors they broke, the artifacts they stole or broke are some priceless.
Mm-hmm.
And then the horrifying of her staff. Now, I can understand that. Like, someone don't like me, that's fine. They leave my staff the hell alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's probably a deep point, Mary. She says you have a point. Seems like the Capitol should be secured like our Pentagon. And normally it would be, especially under this kind of threat. That's been kind of the big point in this whole like January 6th event is like any other like inkling that there's going to be a protest, not a violent insurrection, but a protest, would pull out massive response to secure the Capitol. That didn't occur. There's been issues with Capitol Police staffers, Capitol Police officers, that like there's now been some suspended, because if they weren't in like directly working with this group, they were at least welcoming of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like, okay, that's cool. Like I kind of see your point, man.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't. Like, I don't know what oath you pledged, but that wasn't the one.
Right. And see, I think that they're going to do a commission like they've done on 9/11. Now, 9/11 said that they didn't have the imagination to foresee this happening. I think they're going to find a rippling effect, because we thought Friday that there was one call to the Secretary of the Army to release the National Guard. No, there were 8 calls to the Secretary of the Army to release the National Guard. It took Mike Pence getting on the phone, and I'm quite sure giving him a tail lashing that only Mother could give, to get the National Guard moving in.
Yeah. Which is a horrific level of response to have to get to, is that, you turn loose a group, you are like, let it play out. And it's like, no. But I do think that is probably the biggest reason that we are seeing, a lot of response from Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of very, like, emotional response even. Like they're very committed to this regardless of like the political aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is and it's kind of like when we talk about a lot of different issues, if you start arresting a lot of rich white bankers,
mm-hmm.
we might have a lot less crime.
Mm-hmm.
If you start terror, not that I'm suggesting it, please don't take that away from this, but the fact that this absolutely became a terrorism of our elected leaders,
Mm-hmm.
there's suddenly this like V8 moment of, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just a like bunch of rhetoric. This isn't a bunch of like random crap people are saying. This is happening to us.
Right.
Like this is happening here. It's happening now in what should be one of the most sacred buildings in DC, if not, the country. This is hallowed ground. This is not how we do business. This is not how this works. You have just like attacked a lot of things more than just a building. So with that, you kind of turn around, and I have to say I hope there was a moment in which, someone drives home the point of, and this was exactly what it's like to be in, a school system right now. Thanks, lack of gun control. I'm not saying like lock up all the guns, take all the guns, do that. We have never said that. No one's ever said that.
Right.
Other than to fearmonger. I'm saying there are limits.
Well, I think that, and I want to make it very clear, I am very much for the Second Amendment. I also like the 14th Amendment. Granted, the 25th Amendment, it's kind of dodgy, but okay, we'll deal with it. Mm-hmm. There is no reason for A1 for an AK-57. There is no reason for an assault rifle for hunting. There is no reason for an assault rifle in general, unless you are doing acts of war.
Or more importantly, if your aim is so bad, stay out of my bathroom. Like if you can't hit deer but with an AK, stay out of my bathroom. My toilet's a lot smaller than deer.
Right. So the 14th Amendment, Article 3, I think we may see some use of it. We've hoped to see Amendment 20, the 25th Amendment, but I think that we may see a reworking of the 25th Amendment, that the other two branches, leadership, like Chief Justice, the Speaker of the House, President of the Senate can agree to be, if there is an issue with the president coming through. I do feel like the power of being able to hold on to presidency out of stubbornness may get changed.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Mary's saying high-powered firearms must be screened for the applicant buyer. I say this as a Second Amendment advocate. I'm at the point of like there needs to be a lot done. If you're buying a high-powered weapon, we need to know a lot of things. And we need to be real secure that this is not and I think that's a reasonable expectation.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel the same about if you go buy a tank,
mm-hmm.
I should be able to ask some questions. Not just be like, well, it's Tuesday and you want to buy a tank. That's cool. Tank Tuesday's half off, who doesn't want a tank?
If they keep saying they can have AK-57s, I want a tank to drive to work.
Yeah, no. One, I'm not calling our insurance agent to even begin that conversation.
Well, I think the insurance agent will be very happy because it doesn't break down that much. It can't get damaged that easy. The insurance should be very low on it. And I've already had a conversation with her that said any vehicle I buy would be $35 added to the policy.
Yeah, I think she'll resend that real quick when you say it's a tank. Because, it's not the damage to the tank. Like, she won't have a problem with the full coverage on it. She's going to have a little bit of a problem with the liability on it. Do you know what a tank does to a road? They're horrible for roadways. But yes.
Yeah, but my commute will improve greatly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that driving a tank to work would be the equivalent of beep, beep, motherfucker. Get out of my way.
No, because I can literally just go across the mountain. Forget the road. I don't even have to go on the road. I can go through the woods.
Oh, so great. Then I'll borrow it to take your mother to her dermatology appointment that I swear to God is like a 3-minute direct line if we didn't have to go around a mountain.
And the prison. You can't go through the prison. You'll have to go around it.
I want to go through the prison. It'll be fun. Oh, yeah. It's the drivers and you're damn right on that, Brenda. It is the drivers and pedestrians that tick him off. Oh, my God.
Okay, guys. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We had a great author on. Please go check out her information. Again, that website is drsusan.org. And she's got some really great books. She's got 19 of them, so that'll keep you busy. A lot of them are on Audible. go ahead and use those, including the one she was talking about, Instant Healing. It is on Audible. Meditation books I always prefer to have on Audible or to do text-to-speech, which is available both on Kindle or hard copy. So, but also make sure to check out your local book places. They can most likely get the books you want, including the rare ones. I love that about a local bookstore that can get me the rare ones. Like, oh, I need a 13th century manuscript about such and such, and I'd like it in this form. They can normally find it. We'll go back Friday. We will have a lot of topics on Friday. Expect a very dense conversation because, of course, things are moving fast.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, we do want to thank our Patreon sponsors. We really do appreciate you guys. We hope you appreciate the newest newsletter. Sorry that was a little late, but hopefully the content makes up for that. And so I was waiting for it to scroll back around, guys. We want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Gist, and of course the Crystal Lotus Shop. If you'd like to find out more about us, the show, or how to become a Patreon sponsor, please visit PCSPnetwork.com.
Yep, and have a good night. Now, I am co-hosting tomorrow night over on Wednesday Divination. That is part of the Temple Realm of Light. Look forward to seeing you guys over there. If you'd like to join, I will be sharing the event here in a little bit on my on our Facebooks.
Yes, and that's hosted by Gwen. So, yeah, you guys have met Gwen. We love Gwen. Gwen is wonderful. I'm sure it'll be an amazing evening.
It will be. All right, y'all. Good night. Bye.
Good night.